Ready? Play.
Everyone's finally a matchup that everyone's wanting to see.
Basically, the match today, what we got out of it in terms of Sinner was just the fact that he had some physical issues as usual. As usual with Yannick, it's kind of tough to say whether this is, something serious or not. But there were these two games, more or less, when he wasn't covering his forehand corner well or not. Like with him, so there's just so many physical cues that you don't know what is actually serious or not. But if he was also hurt in the rallies, that's kind of bringing up some questions in regards to his physical states ahead of the Sunday final. Mostly because, yeah, it's just right after his return, and he's played a few matches that kind of stacks up against you, even if most of them have been pretty short. And if it was best of five, I'd kind of still like the Alcaraz chances simply because of what we saw last year. So many of their matches, it was like Yannick comes out with incredible tennis for the first 30 minutes or so. It looks like it might be almost like double bagelish results. And then Carlos just finds a way against Yannick. He's actually a very good tactician all of a sudden. And there were the slices in Indian Wells. There was the moon bowling at Roland Garros. Can he do it here? Kind of like, on Yannick's court, and also best of three, less time to produce stuff, less time to like use the fact that like over Sinner, he kind of only has, the higher number of options. Like that's the only thing he has over Sinner, because shot for shot Sinner is just insane. So yeah, if we ignore the hamstring, if we ignore any physical issues, I think it's pretty much close to a 50-50, and it's fascinating to get this matchup here. First of all, because it's their first big final and the biggest match they've played, sort of. I mean, it's probably comparable to Roland Garros semi, especially considering that's the one who won it also won the title. But also because, yeah, it's just 2 weeks ahead of Roland Garros. So it's like a perfect lead up to this event to have a matchup between the top two seeds, between the top two contenders, and two players who are very likely to even meet in that final in Paris again.
Yeah, yeah, I think. Yeah, Ashley, you're asking about the hamstring. We're talking about Sinner. A little bit during the third set, he was kind of pulling up on some running forehands, grabbing the hamstring, and it sounds like I obviously did not listen to the press conference, but there was a long pause in the post match interview before he answered a question about the hamstring. So, I mean, seems to be downplaying it, which is very Jannik Sinner esque. And obviously, as viewers, we hope that there is nothing there to it. But yeah, what I was saying like before I got cut off is the fact that Jannik Sinner has come out and won the first set multiple times in this matchup, and I feel like that's another thing that Carlos does better with, I guess, like moving along in a match and picking up rhythm and kind of problem solving a little bit more, whereas Sinner doesn't really have like maybe like a plan B in a sense. I don't think I feel like Carlos is very on the fly himself, but you feel like you're going to get with Sinner, and he's just going to continue to do it over time, and hopefully that wears you down. Whereas Carlos can kind of present different, I'd say just like weaponry and ability, and it can kind of come out in variance throughout a obviously a best of five, but even a 3-set. He has dropped that the first set like 6-1 and still found ways. So I just think that's something I'm also thinking about.
It's going to be interesting to see how physical Alcaraz makes it, obviously, with the hamstring and stuff. That's our main talking point. There's nothing. That's the only thing we can take from this Sinner-Paul match. I mean, in a very strange match, no real consistency or fluidity to it. Just some brutal shot making from time to time, and two sets that were complete opposites and so similar in the same way. But yeah, in the final, it's going to be, who can make more of those ridiculous shots that make the highlight reel, in a sense. Like everyone's has been waiting for this sort of matchup for such a long time in this sort of situation, and everyone's there to see how high the quality can get. Almost, they're pushing the boundaries all the time, and whether they can, whether it is that it goes 7-6, 6-7, 7-6, that would be kind of what everyone's looking at. But yeah, I favor Alcaraz mainly because you take the pace off, and Sinner is less comfortable with the less pace you give him. Which, watching that Indian Wells match last year, you know, the more pace that Alcaraz struck the ball back at Sinner, the easier Sinner made it look to just divert that pace straight back onto Alcaraz. You know, and Alcaraz looks a little more in discomfort when Sinner, you know, gives him less time on the ball. So yeah, we'll see. But when it's slower, you know, he sends it, gives it more airtime. You know, Sinner has to generate his own power. Not saying that Sinner can't generate his own power, because he's still the best in the world at creating it, but he looks less comfortable than when you give him the pace, which Alcaraz clearly has on his forehand and his backhand.
Yeah, it's the biggest matchup in tennis for sure. I think it was in 2024 already. It seems to be the one that will like decide this generation, this era. So I think that's absolutely fantastic that we're getting it. Hopefully, there's no physical question marks for either player. And yeah, just to have this ahead of Roland Garros, I do think it's a good privilege to have for sure. And it's going to change a lot of our opinions as well. Like, regardless of what we're going to see in this one, I think it's going to change a lot of our opinions regarding of the power rankings ahead of RG. They're clearly the top two favorites regardless. Nobody else really compares right now. I would say for now Alcaraz is slightly ahead, but ask me this question again if Jannik beats him on Sunday, because the answers might be very different by then. So this is really quite pivotal in both the long term and the short term of tennis.
I would like it if it went to like a third set break and Sinner had no physical issues. I feel like that would be like a really nice sort of like way to top off this sort of like rivalry for the game. And that's what these two are so well matched that you kind of hope it gets that close. Like it's almost like it's like 12-10 in a third set tiebreak, and there's like everyone's kind of expecting this match to be like the Sabalenka-Swiatek match in Madrid final every single time they play, right? But it's not going to be. It can't be like that every single time, otherwise that'd be crazy. But
could it be a setback for the entire ATP if it's a blowout? I mean, if it's a blowout in Carlos's favor, you're always gonna say slow clay. Jannik just came back, so there's like a lot of potential, excuses in a way, even though it wouldn't need an excuse. If Jannik wins and like he just starts winning 50 matches, it's still a big story then, because he's Italian. There's a big market there right now. Obviously, we have, as one of you mentioned, 2 finalists, both sides. So yeah, I mean, I don't think it's a setback either way, really. It could be potentially more in Jannik's, but not really. I mean, the story of domination is also one that, at least for a while, is definitely marketable.
Right. I mean, this tournament alone, getting here, depending on your knowledge of tennis, the opponents he had to play, obviously very difficult. And Casper Ruud, I mean, speaks for itself. So, like, we already have plenty of storyline to go off of, and just hope we get a good one and then get to see it again in 3 weeks.
I mean, literal number one has played tennis his whole life. I understand what you mean, Pubert, but the only thing that the break means is not with Sinner's level. It's with Sinner's physicality, and just the fact that if you haven't competed in a few months, it's not that easy to play 6 matches in a row. So that's the only thing that we're talking about in terms of the break. Like, obviously the Sinner level, he was just playing anyway, right? I mean, I don't care, like the whole practice ban thing, it's not actually, he was obviously still able to practice, just not in like official capacity, let's say. So yeah, I mean, we were expecting his level to be high, but it's not always easy to just like jump back into it. It's not, you're never really going to be able to like mimic the competition, mimic like the whole feel of playing a tournament. Obviously he's done that very well so far. Now it's just like whether the 6 matches kind of stuck up against him or not. Today we've seen some indication that they might. But then again, if he's saying that all the issues with like covering his forehand corner in the third set, that it's just the blister.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.